I was designed to save the world. People will look to the sky and see hope. I'll take that from them first. There's only one path to peace. Their extinction.
Boom! That's right! Yo, here we go. Yo, what's up? It's FiddyBuxx here. Now, with the arrival of Avengers Infinity War, I thought I'd go back and I would talk to y'all about what I consider. Now, this is my opinion, not yours, not somebody else's. I don't care who says what. This is my opinion. And my opinion is this. Out of all the 18-odd MCU films over 10 years, I had a really tough time with my number one, number two of my top five. Avengers Age of Ultron is my personal favorite out of all the MCU films. Now, you're going to say, how come you don't like Black Panther, man? How come you don't like T'Challa and Okoye and W'Kabi? Look, I'm not saying that I don't love Black Panther. I love Black Panther. Black Panther is dope as hell. It was worth the wait. Avengers Age of Ultron is an Avengers movie first. S.H.I.E.L.D. is only a secondary thing. This was like reading one of them annuals back in the 1970s and 80s when I was growing up. And an annual, for those of you that don't know or don't understand the comic book genre, a normal book has what? 25, 30-something pages, whatever. 22, don't matter, with ads. An annual is something that came out once a year that maybe had 64 pages, and this was a big event. So once a year, you would have this big, massive story, and that is how Avengers Age of Ultron reads to me. That's how it flows. It flows like this big-ass, massive annual, and there is just stuff jam-packed in it. Number one, you saw how I started that off, the trailers. This was the last trailer of Avengers Age of Ultron.
I tried to create a suit of armor around the world, but I created something terrible. Artificial intelligence. It's called the Ultron program.
I'm sick of watching people pay for our mistakes.
Isn't why we fight so we can end the fight and go home?
Well, you amazingly failed.
And I still think up to this day, and that was 3 years ago, that trailer still stands out. That is a strong trailer. Age of Ultron carries on from Winter Soldier and the dynamic of the world without S.H.I.E.L.D. They're not beholden to anybody. This is before Civil War. So at this point, this is where the Avengers have carte blanche and they are running the show everywhere. The film also, starts to sow the seeds for what's going to happen in that next phase. What happens in Sokovia? What happens between Steve and Tony? Where everything suddenly starts to change. This is the film that actually just brought the Avengers dynamics as a team.
Here we all are, with nothing but our wit and our will to save the world. So stand and fight.
From that opening battle, don't even try to front. You've got Thor who smashes a tank, Iron Man then hits it with his repulsors, then Hulk grabs it and throws it at another bunch of cats. And then they all sort of go flying. Natasha comes skidding under a truck to throw Captain America his shield, while he's fighting Ultron on top of a truck. Cap just sort of, kicks his shield, it flies up, Thor hits it, man, and it just like pinballs off like a whole bunch of, Ultron bots. That was what made me just go, God damn, I love this movie. That's what I'm talking about. The team-ups in this film, bar none. The Avengers had it, but it was really quick towards the end. You know what I'm saying? You remember what I'm talking about. Age of Ultron had that all the way through. From woe to go, all the way through. This movie had amazing, cool-ass team-up moments. So later on, even when they're fighting in Sokovia, and Natasha showed up late, and she's swinging on a bot, and Steve's like, hey, Romanoff! He throws his shield, she catches it, thanks! Bow! Wow! Throws it back to him. Bow! Steve takes him out. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. The globe-trotting. The actual way that this movie just grabs hold you from that opening scene and keeps going. We start in Sokovia. We head back to New York. They go to South Africa. They go, all around the place. They go back to Middle America. They go to Hawkeye's family. They go back to, they go all over the place. They go through Europe. They go to South Korea, back to New York, and then they go back to Sokovia for the blowout, and then we return to a brand new Avengers compound. This movie did not stop. It was breakneck. Just kept going and jumping and moving, and I love that about it. Didn't stay too long in some places. That was what I really loved about this movie. I gotta say this. James Spader as Ultron. Yeah, man, call me a James Spader groupie. I don't care. But his speech, when Sokovia had lifted up, and he was just like, boy...
See the beauty of it, the inevitability. You rise only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
The Vision. The birth of the Vision and how he sort of came to be, and he was Jarvis, and he was this sort of vibranium body and all these Ultron programs, and Paul Bettany actually got to show up and actually, even though he had a whole bunch of, that is dope. The Vision is one of my favorite Avengers, and they did him justice, okay? They did him justice. They didn't even go into how his powers work, how he's able to shift his molecular density, and how he was able to phase through stuff and then become rock hard and all that. They didn't even bother with it. They was like flying and just blah. He's just doing it. That's what I'm talking about. I loved the Vision in this movie. Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Back in the day, when Marvel were first starting and they were villains, they actually stuck to that concept of starting these two off as supervillains. How it all tied in with Tony Stark. I actually really loved this Quicksilver. You could talk to me about, you might have seen me in another video where I'm talking about how I don't really like the X-Men's version of Quicksilver. He's too fast. He's not anywhere near as arrogant, and he even got his twin sister, and that's what I loved. They stuck to it. Now, because Marvel don't own the rights to the X-Men and all this stuff, and Fox got it, couldn't call them mutants, had to change their origins or whatever. They ain't Magneto's kid. So what? Doesn't matter. I loved it. I absolutely love the Scarlet Witch. I adore Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, and I adored this Quicksilver. The arrogant, just smart-ass, smug, overprotective of his sister, Pietro, and how she's like just badass as well, and they've got this really tight bond. I absolutely loved it. There was nothing wrong with that. This movie actually had the gall to have a rampaging, out-of-control Hulk. And who has to fight him? Because the rest of the Avengers are down because Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver done messed them up. Ultron done beat up on everybody. Who else? Damn. Iron Man versus the Hulk. But that was absolutely dope, the battle between the actual Hulkbuster armor and Hulk. A rampaging, unstoppable Hulk? No. Hit him with an elevator. I mean, damn. Going down. Boom! And not only did he do all that, he won the fight. The downtime. I like the little bits where after the Sokovia battle, we see the Avengers on the Quinjet and how they all sort of talk and they just sort of hang out together before the party. The actual party itself and their interactions. And of course, we're going to get to Thor's hammer scene, which I think a lot of people loved as well. But this is what I'm saying. I actually really loved this. We didn't have an origin movie where we're wondering and they're all meeting for the first time. This is a year or so later. They know each other now. Now they hang out. They're friends. They're superheroes. This is great. This is why this film stands out for me. How do they actually interact with each other in their downtime? They have beers. They drink, they have a good time, they got some people around, etc. I didn't mind the Hawkeye family reveal. I did not mind the Hawkeye family reveal. I actually like the concept of the idea that one of the Avengers does have a family, because none of them do. I mean, besides, Thor's got Loki or what, but none of them actually have any sort of family, those sort of roots, and it actually changed the dynamic of a film. I know some people didn't like it, or I know a lot of executives at Marvel probably didn't like it or whatever. Probably Kevin Feige didn't like it. He's like, nah, but I don't care. I actually really liked the fact that they actually slowed down and it went into that point, and you actually got to see this, and it did change the perspective of how Hawkeye fits into the team. He is just a cat, and he says it later. I'm just a guy with a bow and arrows, okay? We're fighting an army of robots and the city is flying. That's what Hawkeye is. He's a smart ass who knows his place. And and his wife says, yeah, they need you, man. You're a normal guy. You're not you're part of the team. You're part of the glue. Absolutely love that. Fantastic. Quicksilver and his death. Some say, why introduce a character and then kill him straight away? But to me, that was actually good. I agree. They shouldn't have killed him. Why introduce somebody and then just kill him straight away? But by that same token, somebody has to start falling. And with Avengers Infinity War coming up and everybody, I'm going to be doing a video about that later, but with everybody talking about who's going to die, and I think that Chris Evans, I think so-and-so is going to die, this movie brought in somebody, and they were already like, hey, man, we ain't going to all walk away from this, and you're right. Not only does Quicksilver die, but it has repercussions on it. It emotionally shatters his sister, Hawkeye, who's been bantering with him the whole time and so forth. That affects him to the point to where he actually names his child Pietro. He gets Pietro as his middle name in there, So, no. Man, this movie had it all. But Quicksilver's death, although I wish he had more time, and I wish they didn't do it straight away after they introduced him, I thought it was a necessary evil. I loved how the Avengers were there to save the civilians. They didn't automatically just go to where Ultron was. That's where Tony went. The rest of them, their job was to clear the battlefield of civilians. So you've got them taking people out over the bridge. You've got this, that, and the other. Of course, Ultron then reveals his master plan and starts to bring Sokovia up. But, hey, I actually love that bit. And even during the battle, when things sort of change, they're still trying to save civilians while all these robots are flying and attacking them. Come on. This is what the Avengers do. They're superheroes. There wasn't anybody there to help them. There wasn't no shield. There wasn't no United Nations. There wasn't anybody there. So, no, I absolutely love that bit. Captain America. Captain America in this movie, my God, I absolutely loved him. From calling the shots throughout the whole movie. From, getting basically Wanda and Pietro, who they've been fighting the whole movie, who suddenly, when they show up to actually help, Cap's got that ability, man. Hey, can you stop this train? Go and save the civilians. And lo and behold, man, they do. And they wanted the three of them, and they were part of, Cap's kooky quartet back in, the 1960s and 70s, where it was only 4 Avengers: Hawkeye, Cap, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. They proved that they could actually be a pretty decent force in the Avengers. Yelling orders to everybody in Sokovia, okay? Yeah, start. You got to figure out what's going on now that Sokovia is going on, man. The rest of us, we got to fight these robots. If you get hurt them back. You get killed, walk it off. That's Captain America, damn it. And that's what I loved about this movie. Cap, defending the key. At this point in the film, this is just before it, I know you've probably all seen it, but at this point in the film, the Avengers have to stop Ultron from reaching this key. Once he hits this key, all of a sudden, Sokovia is going to take off, head down, smack into the earth, and as he says, boom, it's catastrophic.
This is exactly what I wanted. All of you against all of me. How can you possibly hope to stop me?
Billions dying, all this so forth. So the Avengers have to protect this small little bit. And this is the part of the annual that I'm talking about. We had our splash page earlier on. There's other bits that could have been like these 2-page fold-out bits. But this bit at the end of the movie where, yep, is that the best you can do? And then Ultron sends all his goons in. Hulk's like, ah! Come and get us, baby. Come and get us. There's this 20-second interval of during that where the Avengers are just going, and it's like you don't even, it's like reading a comic book. All you can hear is sound effects. Bang! Boom! Boom! Dang! Bang! Tink! Wow! And then you hear the music. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. And then we get the big splash page where they're all fighting, and everyone's like, there's too much going on. I don't care. Shut up! I loved it! That was just over the top. Yes! That is what I mean. This movie delivered in spades. Say no more. We get to a new group. At the end of the film, after everything's said and done, Iron Man decides he's going to tap out, as he says. Thor, after having been, receiving sort of, from his visions, now he's understanding that somebody is working to get all the Infinity Stones together. The one that we have is the Mind Stone with Vision, safe with him. He's going to have to go and find out who that is. He leaves. You got, so the team's actually changed up. Cap, Black Widow, now you've got a whole new team at the end. We've got the new Avengers show up. And that's what I love. The Avengers lineup constantly changed. It didn't always stay the same. It wasn't static. So you have a new dynamic coming in, and that's where the movie ends. And that's what I mean. So all that gets to Civil War, and now what's coming up to Avengers Infinity War. Is this going to happen again in Infinity War? Are there going to be deaths? Are people going to retire? Are people going to leave? Are we going to get a new group of people join up? Is Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, are they going to join the Avengers now and become part of the new roster? We're going to have to wait and see. We only got a couple of weeks left, but that's what I'm talking about. So in conclusion, I'm going to also go over some of the things that I know people didn't like. So in conclusion, a lot of people say that there's too much actually stuffed into this movie, and too much sometimes isn't a good thing because there's too many plot narrative threads. I didn't mind that. To me, that's one of the beauties of this film, is that it is an overstuffed movie, but it's not just a simple, there's a bad guy, we got to stop him. There's a lot of machinations, a lot of things going on, and I'm not actually one of these people who doesn't overlook stuff. There's stuff about this film that I don't like quite much about it. There's not a lot, but there are things, so I'm going to get up to that. Thor's side quest. As I said, Thor, in part of the movie, suddenly decides he has to go off and he needs to go and take his shirt off and jump in a pool of water and decide and get into a dream state, and that's where he finds out that possibly someone is actually trying to bring the Infinity Stones together. This was odd. It does stand out. After multiple viewings, this still stands out. It's a very odd bit of the film. Once again, it's cool that we do get it, but it does stand out. And I believe this was a bit of the film that had to be shoehorned in because you had to discuss what the Infinity Stones were and how what are the machinations, what's all this involved. But that does stand out. Suddenly the film it almost does a BVS where the movie suddenly goes, hang on, let's have a look at who these guys are. We have the flash, it suddenly has a break to talk about what's going to happen in future movies. So yes, that is a downside, but to me, it's very brief. It doesn't derail the movie. Ultron being almost too human, that he wasn't as a mechanical maniac as he is in the comics. Because in the comics, Ultron, he doesn't have a sense of humor as such. And to me, yes, once again, the MCU do things differently. Whereas in the comics, it was basically a Hank Pym designed machine put into, it had Tony Stark's mannerisms. It had a lot of other mannerisms. It was this sort of amalgam of Jarvis and a few other, not even Jarvis, but it was an amalgam of a few things. So for him to be constantly learning and evolving and the play of, son and father and all that sort of thing, to me, I really liked it. And I did like that. Did it go a little bit overboard? Tiny bit. But that being said, I still loved it. Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo in the comic books is one of Cap. Even Sergeant Fury before he became Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in World War II. So, Baron Zemo is one of the penultimate cat villains, man. He has that monocle. He's got he's got like a Satan's claw, he calls it, that burns up and all that sort of crap. Baron Zemo, man, he had one end credit scene, and then basically he is the wimp of all wimps and gets basically taken out and killed off screen. Baron Zemo's handling in this, to me, wasn't cool. He needed to be, not killed, but, Jesus, man, let the guy come back in another film. Let him come back later on. I didn't like his handling. So a lot of people say the MCU has a villain problem. That is where I agree. Baron Zemo got the short shift there. Brother just did not get the time he deserved. He was funny while he was there, but he needed to probably be a little bit more. A lot of people didn't like the Bruce and Natasha romance. I didn't mind it because, once again, I liked how they actually brought that up, how Natasha had these sort of feelings for him. Not necessarily she had feelings for the Hulk, but she had feelings for the fact that he was a guy that was not like anybody else that she knew, because all she knows are assassins. She hangs out with Captain America, Falcon, Iron Man. She knows all these sort of people. Banner's a very different cat from that very first scene in Avengers when they meet, and she hints at that later on with Fury. Did you know that I was going to fall, that this was going to happen? And he's like, you never know. You hope everything works out. I didn't mind that. I actually didn't mind it. How that all went, and this ties into what I'm going to say about next, how that all sort of wound up sort of working out, I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a strange idea that maybe they took a gamble on that didn't pay off for a lot of the fans. But to me, it didn't lessen Natasha's character. In fact, it strengthened it because it finally showed Natasha being vulnerable. She never is. And Steve says that at the party, man. She's a flirt. No. I've seen her up close. That is not her flirting. That is like Natasha, because you didn't get to see her. She has the scene where they're at Hawkeye's house and they're talking. That's ScarJo, who's a brilliant actress, and Ruffalo as well, just actually sort of trying to work something through. So to me, that worked. Finally, what I have to admit that I did not like about this film, and this was a major, major part of the film that I really went, oh. Ultron at one point actually captures Natasha, and he's saying, I want you to see what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. So they have to go and save her. Clint's worried about her. Bruce is worried about her, of course. So when they do go back to Sokovia, there she is, sitting in a cage, waiting to be rescued. That, to me, was the worst part of the film. And that was where I went, no. Natasha she's already sent a message out. She knew they were coming. Natasha wouldn't have just sat and waited for somebody to come and save her. That was beyond weak. That was just like beyond, suddenly this woman who fought side by side with the Avengers on multiple occasions, Battle of New York, jumping on the back of Chitaris and getting them to backflipping off stuff. The Black Widow would never wait to be rescued. I thought that was impossibly weak, and by far probably one of the weakest turns in the film. So, in conclusion, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I made this video in defense of Age of Ultron. Have you seen it lately? If you got the Blu-ray or whatever, throw that thing on again. Have a look. I'm FiddyBuxx. Until my next video, peace out. Thank you for watching. There are no strings on me.